All right, good morning, everyone. So it is Monday again, the 25th of April, brand new week towards the end of the month, end of April. Where has the year gone? Um, what we have seen yesterday, oh, not yesterday, last week was a lot of market movements. The club was going crazy till quite late on Friday night, where we're all just talking about trades, not just the ones that we talk about during the currency call, but all different kinds of trades that everyone was getting into. So I hope you had a good trading week. We ended off the week quite well. So I'm looking for a continuation of trades and good trades this week. I actually just closed out one of my trades as well. And also we've just signaled out an Aussie trade into the club. So, those of you who are watching us on YouTube, this is recorded live for club members. You're probably watching this a little bit later into the day. So if you haven't already, make sure you follow the links, join up, join the club, get some support with your trades. With that said, today is Monday, so we are looking at the dollar index. We're looking at the Aussie dollar, the Kiwi dollar. Going to be a little bit quiet, but a good setup for the Aussie and Kiwi trades. Today is Anzac Day in Australia and New Zealand, so it's a bank holiday there. Just be a little bit careful with those trades. And we'll do a bit of a recap into what we looked at for the Canadian dollar on Friday last week. So with all that, as usual, any information shared in this video is not intended to be a trade recommendation. It is solely the opinion and views of myself. So please remember to do your own analysis prior to entering any trades. Right, so jumping into the news, Forex Factory. Looking at today, Monday, what do we have? Not a lot happening today. As I said, Australia and New Zealand on their bank holidays together with Europe as well. Tonight, we do have Governor McCallum from the Bank of Canada speaking, right, due to testify at the House of Commons. So we might see some price movements on the US CAD, but it is at a point, where we might see a lot of volatility, or we might sit right across at a resistance level. I'll show you that shortly. But with the Aussie and the Kiwi in focus, tomorrow, again, not a lot of news. We do have some US core durable goods and durable goods orders. Small change expected there, swinging towards the positive. US dollar has been climbing, so be very careful with the US dollar there. Wednesday morning is going to be important. 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday morning, we do have the Aussie CPI quarter on quarter was 1.3%, expected at 1.7. Trimmed mean CPI quarter on quarter was 1%, expected at 1.2. The RBA has come out, from the previous meeting minutes and all their statements, coming out saying that they are watching inflation numbers, CPI numbers for the Aussie economy at 1.7 quarter on quarter. I think the anticipated is the yearly, it should be about 4%. So we're looking at a very high inflation number for the Aussie. Is that going to trigger a action or move from the RBA towards increasing rates? Most likely, right? So if we do see this climb from a 1.3, expected 1.7, we might even see a 2% for CPI quarter on quarter here. That's possibly going to trigger the RBA to increase rates, or to signal an increase of rates, or to speed up their rate increase. So we're looking at that CPI number for Wednesday morning, going to be quite crucial. On Thursday, and then nothing much else. On Thursday, we do have the Bank of Japan with their outlooks, the policy rate, and the monetary policy statement. So I'll tell you more about that on Thursday morning. But the US yen is at a very, very high point, 128, if I'm not wrong. At that level, we might see the Bank of Japan take some action. More importantly, is on Thursday evening, we do see the US GDP number quarter on quarter going from a 6.9 to a 1%, right? So a big drop expected in GDP numbers for the US. Why so? I think that with inflation pretty much running out of control, we might see prices climbing a little bit too high. Hence, we see GDP dropping quarter on quarter for the US. You can see that if I look at this, it's been dropping quarter on quarter. Only last quarter we saw a big jump, but overall it's been dropping from the previous quarter, so, and also from the expected. So not anticipating a big change here. This might actually trigger a retrace in the US dollar, right? And then on Friday, a whole bunch of news, but that's more towards the Eurozone with the GDP numbers. I'll tell you more about the Euro dollar tomorrow when we do our currency call with the Euro dollar in focus. And that's it, right? So you can see that for this week, we do have CPI numbers for the Australian dollar. We do have the Bank of Japan coming out with their rate statements and policy statements and rate policy and outlooks, and also the US GDP. Apart from that, not much else. So I'm anticipating some spikes, but overall trending scenarios happening across the board. With that, doing a quick review onto Friday. So Friday, we had a whole bunch of news, but most crucially, we saw the Canadian retail sales number actually come out not as bad as anticipated. It was revised from a 3.2 to a 3.3. Expected a minus 0.4, but it came out at 0.1%. Core retail sales revised from a 2.5 to a 2.9. Expected a 0.4, but it came out at 2.1. So a very good retail sales number coming out for the CAD. But together with that, what we saw was the dollar gaining strength across the board, right? So I'll show you here straight up the dollar from Friday. What was Friday? Let me see. Friday was the 22nd. So the 22nd we saw on Friday here, the dollar pretty much breaking, as we spoke about. I was anticipating it to climb slowly, sit across and break up towards the 101 level. What it did was that big drop on Thursday night before climbing back up on the Friday. We saw it push higher towards 101 and now at that 101, almost hit that 101.20 level before now sitting right across. What I anticipate here for the dollar index on the H4 time frame, I think that is broken a very high level now. If I do zoom out, you can see the next very high level is 102, but if we go to the daily time frame and zoom right out, you can see that between 101 and 102, it's got that big break towards the upside. So I don't think it will move straight up towards 102. I think we're going to see it fluctuate in this area or test that 101 level first, right? So coming back to the current, on the dollar index, again, I'm anticipating it on the H4 time frame to test this 101 level. To test this 101 level, I don't think it will move straight up. What we're likely to see on the dollar index is for it to sit across, possibly test a little bit lower again, right? Oops. And then after that, push up from this 101 towards the 101.40 level. So I'm still looking at some upside on the dollar index. I'm still looking for it to push higher, but I think it's going to consolidate a little bit. It's a very high point, possibly retrace before pushing back up. That's the same thing as what we saw last week, where it broke up above this 100 level towards 101. We saw a big retrace before pushing higher again. Don't think we'll see a huge retrace. Consolidate at a retrace before pushing higher. That's my view for the dollar index on the H4 time frame for it to push higher. With that, doing a quick review, we saw the dollar push higher. The US CAD, we spoke about the US CAD pushing above 1.2620. The trade idea was for 1.2631, above that to buy. 72 pips take profit, 22 pips stop loss, a 1:3 risk reward ratio towards the upside. It went straight up, hit our take profit, and breached that 1.2712 level. At this point right now, remember I was telling you, Bank of Canada governor speaking, we might actually see this push back down again, but it does need to break below this support level now. It was resistance, now turned support. So if we're looking for any selling opportunities on the US CAD, look for it to break below this 1.2711 level before looking to sell. Anticipation for me is that with the dollar strength, I'm looking for it to push higher. I'm looking for it to push towards the 1.28 level. So any retrace, I'm not looking to sell. I don't want to go counter trend. I'll rather look for it to push higher towards that 128. So look for a retrace towards the 128 level. But that's US CAD. We speak about that on Friday. The focus is on the dollar, on the Aussie dollar and the Kiwi dollar, right? So coming back to that, Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar, when we last spoke about it, it was going to break that 0.7410 level. I said sell down towards that 7353 level. It did that and beyond. It broke below that 73 level. It's broken below 72 as well, 0.72 as well. At this point, be very careful on the Aussie dollar. You can see that in March, it came towards this similar point before bouncing back up again, right? If I zoomed out, you can see in Feb, it came towards this point, looked like it was breaking lower before bouncing back up again. So be very careful there. I'm still looking for some downside on the Aussie dollar towards that 0.715 or 0.7160 level, maybe even a little bit lower, 0.7140. But I'm looking for that bounce back up into the medium term, right? Why that bounce? Again, referring back to the news on, where was it? I lost it again. On Wednesday morning, we're expecting a CPI number to be strong. If that's a strong CPI number, then we're going to think that the Bank of Australia, Reserve Bank of Australia is going to signal rate increases. If they do signal rate increases, then we're going to see the Aussie dollar bounce back up, right? So short-term view, I'm looking to sell down. And you have already seen my trade ideas. Club members have already seen my trade ideas. I'm looking to sell down a tight 30 pip stop loss there, you know, towards this point at about 40 pips. About there, about 40 pips, a 1:1.4 risk reward ratio towards the downside for the Aussie dollar. But in the medium term, right, that's a short-term trade. In the medium term, what I'll be looking for is for the Aussie dollar to track lower, hit that 0.715 or 0.7160 level and bounce. So I'll be looking for buying opportunities. In this case, you can keep your stop loss quite tight at about 35 pips. Take profit level, I would say put it at 100 and almost 120 pips. Take profit a 1:3 risk reward ratio towards the upside for the Aussie dollar. But what you can anticipate here is, you know, take profit a 1:3, but you could be looking to get out at a 0.72 risk reward ratio towards the upside. So first 1:1 risk reward towards the upside, and then if it breaks higher, you can look for that move towards the 0.73 resistance level. So bit of a two trade scenario here. Look to sell down in the short term, look for it to test that 0.7158 level. I hope it tests, breaks, bounce back up, and then look for that buying opportunity back up for the Aussie dollar given that we see strong CPI numbers and that it also signals a RBA for the move towards increasing rates, right? So quite simple for the Aussie dollar. I think that, for it to sell down today, quite possible. For that bounce back up, look for that Wednesday news, look for that trigger to push it back up towards the upside. With that, what to look out for on the Kiwi dollar, a little bit more straightforward. You can see that Kiwi dollar, the last time we came to this point was in Feb again, right? Quite similar to the Aussie dollar. Kiwi dollar has dropped very significantly on the H4 time frame now, sitting at that 0.66 level. It needs to break below this point, right? So it needs to break below 0.66 before looking to sell. I would say below 0.66, you can be a bit safer here. 0.66, 0.6592. Stop loss 40 pips, take profit, maybe a 40 pips there, 40 to 50 pips there, a 1:1 risk reward ratio towards the downside, towards that 6538 support level on the Kiwi dollar H4 time frame. Don't do anything right now, wait for it, let it break lower before selling. You can see that it needs to break past that point before we can see it track down towards that support level. So I'm not looking for a bounce back up in the Kiwi dollar in the medium term. I'm looking for a repeat of what happened here in early Feb. Same move here. I'm looking for that to drop below 0.66. 0.66, yeah, 0.66. At about 0.6590, you can look to sell down towards that 6538 level. Similar thing as what happened here with the Kiwi dollar earlier in the year. So I'm looking for a repeat. Looks like a similar chart pattern, chart movement there, quite straightforward on the Kiwi dollar. Overall, a few trade ideas here, especially with the dollar possibly consolidating and pushing higher. We're looking for further dollar strength, looking at a short-term sell on the Aussie, and then maybe a bounce. Kiwi to continue down towards that recent, or that overall support level at 0.6538, right? A few more trade ideas to be had on the euro dollar and also the pound dollar. I'll share more with you on that tomorrow with the euro and the pound on Wednesday. But club members, I think that this will be one of the days that we'll be looking at a lot more trade ideas, a lot more trade signals, and more discussions in the club. So with that said, take care, trade well, trade safe. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.